a journey far removed from the sun-drenched beaches and star-studded boulevards that typically define California in the global imagination. Forget for a moment the shimmering allure of Hollywood, the tech-fueled dreams of Silicon Valley, and the majestic vistas of Yosemite. Today, we invite you to step into the shadows, into a reality that often goes unseen, unheard, and unacknowledged, a silent crisis unfolding in the Golden State. This isn't your average travelogue, filled with picturesque landscapes and curated experiences. Instead, it's an intimate, raw exploration of human resilience, the profound challenges faced by communities, and the intricate web of policy struggles that have woven a complex tapestry of homelessness in one of America's most celebrated, yet deeply conflicted states. Our purpose is not merely to inform, but to stir the soul, to ignite a spark of empathy, and to awaken the conscience of every viewer. A silent crisis, unveiling homelessness in California. Welcome to a journey far removed from the sun-drenched beaches and star-studded boulevards that typically define California in the global imagination. Forget for a moment the shimmering allure of Hollywood, the tech-fueled dreams of Silicon Valley, and the majestic vistas of Yosemite. Today, we invite you to step into the shadows, into a reality that often goes unseen, unheard, and unacknowledged, a silent crisis unfolding in the Golden State. This isn't your average travelogue, filled with picturesque landscapes and curated experiences. Instead, it's an intimate, raw exploration of human resilience, the profound challenges faced by communities, and the intricate web of policy struggles that have woven a complex tapestry of homelessness in one of America's most celebrated yet deeply conflicted states. Our purpose is not merely to inform, but to stir the soul, to ignite a spark of empathy, and to awaken the conscience of every viewer. Before we delve deeper into this poignant narrative, we implore you to join our growing community of thoughtful viewers. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Your engagement fuels our passion to bring you stories that are not only compelling and thought-provoking, but also serve as a powerful call to action for change. The stark reality of homelessness in California. The stark reality of homelessness in California hits like a cold wave on a warm day, a chilling contrast to the state's vibrant facade. Recent data reveals a truth that many prefer to overlook, a truth etched into the very fabric of its cities and towns. California is home to approximately 161 individuals experiencing homelessness. This isn't just a number. It's a staggering figure that represents nearly 1/3 of the entire national homeless population. Imagine that. 1 in 3 people experiencing homelessness in America are struggling within the borders of this one supposedly golden state. In sprawling urban centers like Los Angeles, the numbers become even more visceral, with nearly 66 individuals facing daily hardships on the streets, their lives a constant testament to the fragility of stability. These figures are more than mere statistics. They are echoes of shattered lives, broken dreams, and the relentless grind of survival. While California dazzles tourists with its scenic landscapes, its bustling cityscapes, and its promise of prosperity, a significant portion of its population lives in the shadows of these achievements. The glitzy storefronts and towering office buildings often cast long, cold shadows over makeshift encampments and individuals huddled against the elements. Even more alarming is the fact that around 65% of California's homeless population is unsheltered. The warm climate, often a draw for visitors seeking endless summers, becomes a cruel paradox for those without a roof over their heads, offering little protection from the biting cold of winter nights or the scorching heat of summer days. Each of these numbers, each statistic, is not merely a data point but a human life, a person who has lost the fundamental stability and comfort of a permanent home. At the very heart of California's homelessness crisis lies a severe systemic imbalance, a chasm between the supply of and the demand for housing. This isn't merely a market phenomenon. It's a direct, painful consequence of decades of policy failures and entrenched regulatory roadblocks. When basic human needs like shelter become commodities, subject to the whims of an unchecked market and restrictive laws, the gap between what is available and what is desperately required only widens, swallowing lives whole. For countless families, This means that the daily struggle for survival, for food and safety, is compounded by an ever-present, gnawing fear of eviction, of being forced out onto the streets with nowhere to go. Every incremental increase in rent represents another potential family pushed to the margins, another story of hope dashed by the brutal realities of economic hardship. Urban regulations, often well-intentioned in their design, aiming to preserve community character, prevent overdevelopment, and maintain aesthetic appeal, have ironically become formidable barriers, severely limiting the construction of much-needed affordable housing. Bureaucratic hurdles, labyrinthine permitting processes, and the pervasive local opposition, often stemming from the aforementioned "not in my backyard" NIMBY attitudes, create a hostile environment for new developments, particularly those designed to address the housing crisis. These policies have effectively curtailed the growth of affordable housing projects, leaving many residents with no safe haven, no viable alternative to the spiraling costs of existing housing. The policies of the past have, in essence, created structural obstacles that continue to impact today's housing market with devastating effect. While many communities are now calling for reform, the process is agonizingly slow, fraught with political complexities and deep-seated social challenges. In this intricate landscape, even well-intentioned policies can inadvertently result in profound, unintended hardships, pushing more individuals and families into the precarious existence of homeless in America. The impact of homelessness extends far beyond the immediate, devastating loss of shelter. It creates a multifaceted crisis that permeates every aspect of an individual's being. Economic instability, the constant struggle for financial survival, becomes a suffocating shroud. Social isolation, the painful severance from community and connection, leaves deep scars. And perhaps most profoundly, the relentless mental health challenges, the daily stress of insecurity, the crushing stigma of living on the streets, the profound trauma of displacement, take an immeasurable toll on individuals and families alike. For many, the struggle is not merely about securing a place to sleep. It is about the agonizing fight to reclaim dignity, to rediscover a sense of identity, and to mend the fractured pieces of their lives. When society fails to protect its most vulnerable members, the repercussions are felt in every corner of the community, eroding collective well-being. The challenge, therefore, is not merely economic but profoundly human, calling for solutions that address not just the physical need for shelter, but also the deep emotional and psychological scars left behind by years of neglect and systemic failure. The power of community and the role of support organizations. Amidst the daunting challenges and the pervasive despair of homelessness in California, there are flickering beacons of hope, powerful stories of resilience that emerge from the chaos. These are the narratives of grassroots organizations, visionary local government initiatives, and passionate community leaders who are working tirelessly, often against overwhelming odds, to offer a lifeline to those in desperate need. Their efforts are a testament to the enduring human spirit and the profound belief that every individual deserves a chance at dignity and a better life. Across California, a growing number of local governments have begun to implement innovative solutions aimed at directly addressing homelessness. These initiatives are diverse, ranging from the immediate relief of emergency shelters and temporary housing projects to more ambitious, long-term plans for developing genuinely affordable permanent housing solutions. While progress remains uneven, often hampered by funding constraints and political inertia, these efforts powerfully highlight the critical importance of local leadership and unwavering community engagement. The role of government in mitigating homelessness is undeniably critical, yet true policy reform must be comprehensive and inclusive, bridging the often wide gap between emergency relief and sustainable, long-term solutions. At this juncture, one must pause and ask, how can local governments more effectively mobilize existing resources and enact bold, forward-thinking policies that not only provide immediate, compassionate relief, but also pave the way for lasting, systemic change, ensuring that fewer people become homeless in America? Nonprofit organizations stand as an indispensable force in the ongoing fight against homelessness. They are the true frontline responders, bringing tangible hope and practical assistance to those who have been forgotten or overlooked by the mainstream system. Their services are incredibly diverse and vital, from providing warm meals and essential medical care to offering compassionate counseling and crucial job training programs. Their efforts are often fueled by the unwavering dedication of passionate volunteers, individuals who embody the belief that every person, regardless of their circumstances, deserves a chance at dignity and a path to a better life. Numerous success stories have emerged from these grassroots efforts, serving as powerful reminders of the human capacity to overcome adversity, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Consider, for instance, the inspiring tale of a single mother who, after receiving comprehensive support from a local shelter, including childcare, job placement assistance, and mental health counseling, was able to secure stable employment and eventually find permanent housing for her family. Her journey from the precipice of despair to a renewed sense of stability is a testament to the transformative power of these organizations. These narratives are not just individual triumphs, they are powerful examples of how targeted, compassionate intervention can rebuild lives and restore hope. Increasingly, the private sector has begun to recognize its crucial role in addressing the complex issue of homelessness. This awareness marks a significant shift, acknowledging that economic success should not be confined to a select few but should be shared broadly across society. Some businesses are now actively investing in affordable housing projects, contributing directly to the solution. Others support community initiatives through robust corporate social responsibility programs, providing financial backing, volunteer hours, and expertise. These efforts, while still in their nascent stages, represent a growing understanding that collaboration is key. Partnerships between government agencies, dedicated nonprofits, and the private sector are absolutely essential for creating a multifaceted approach to this crisis. By pooling diverse resources, sharing invaluable expertise, and fostering a spirit of collective responsibility, these collaborations can build a more resilient social safety net, one that not only addresses immediate needs but also fosters long-term stability and prevents more individuals from becoming homeless in America. Reflecting on the past and envisioning a better future, to truly grasp the magnitude of California's homelessness crisis and to forge a path forward, we must look backward, reflecting on the historical trajectory of the state's housing policies and urban development. The lessons learned from history are invaluable, offering crucial insights into how we arrived at this painful juncture and, more importantly, how we can chart a different course for the future. The rapid growth experienced in California during the mid-20th century, fueled by post-war booms and the allure of new industries like Silicon Valley, brought undeniable opportunities. Cities expanded at an unprecedented pace, drawing millions with the promise of prosperity and a better life. However, in the rush to modernize and accommodate this burgeoning population, the fundamental need for affordable housing was tragically overlooked. Deemed secondary to economic expansion, historic neighborhoods were often demolished to make way for gleaming new developments, and many longtime residents, the very fabric of established communities, found themselves pushed out by relentlessly rising costs and shifting demographics. Today, the consequences of those past decisions are painfully evident in the widespread homelessness and pervasive housing insecurity that blight the state. By reflecting on these profound lessons, policymakers, community leaders, and concerned citizens can begin to set a course that prioritizes human well-being and equitable development over unchecked growth. The pressing question remains: how can we truly learn from our past mistakes to build a future where every Californian, regardless of their background or income, has a place to call home, a future where the phrase homeless in America becomes a relic of the past? While statistics can provide a quantitative measure of the crisis, painting a broad, sobering picture, it is the individual stories, the raw, personal accounts of loss, struggle, and astonishing resilience that truly inspire action. When we allow ourselves to connect deeply with these narratives, to truly hear the voices from the streets, we open the door to collective empathy. This empathy, in turn, fuels advocacy, ignites political will, and drives meaningful reform. In our journey today, we have seen with painful clarity that homelessness in California is not merely a problem to be solved through economic or political means alone. It is, at its core, a profound human tragedy that calls for deep compassion, genuine understanding, and an unwavering willingness to act. It demands that we look beyond the stereotypes and see the inherent dignity in every person, regardless of their circumstances. Looking ahead, despite the immense scale of the challenge, there is genuine hope that change is possible, that a new era of proactive solutions can emerge. Across various parts of the state, innovative housing solutions are being piloted and scaled, offering glimpses of what a more equitable future could look like. Improved disaster response mechanisms are being developed, aiming to mitigate the long-term impact of natural catastrophes and prevent displacement. Robust community support systems are growing, providing comprehensive care that addresses not just housing but also mental health, employment, and social integration. These initiatives, though still in their early stages, offer a glimpse of a future where homelessness is addressed not as an isolated issue, a problem to be contained, but as an integral part of a broader, unwavering commitment to social justice and equity for all. The road ahead is undoubtedly long, fraught with challenges, and demands sustained effort. Yet, every step taken toward comprehensive reform is a step toward reclaiming the dignity and humanity of those who have been left behind, ensuring that the burden of being homeless in America is lifted from more and more shoulders. Environmental and policy factors. The dual edges of fate. California's homelessness crisis cannot be understood in isolation. It is inextricably linked to the relentless role of environmental catastrophes and the historical, often glaring failures in housing policy. These two forces intertwine, creating a devastating feedback loop that not only displaces people, but also systematically erodes the social and economic foundations that might otherwise offer stability and a path forward. It's a tragic dance between nature's unforgiving fury and humanity's often flawed governance, a narrative of the dual edges of fate. Nature, in its raw power, has become an unwitting accomplice in California's homelessness crisis. Wildfires, tragically, are an all too common occurrence in the Golden State, a recurring nightmare that leaves trails of devastation in its wake. In 2020 alone, fires swept through approximately 4.2 million acres, consuming vast swathes of land and countless homes. Events like the infamous Camp Fire of 2018, which forced the evacuation of nearly 18,000 people and virtually wiped the town of Paradise off the map, exemplify with brutal clarity how quickly nature's fury can turn lives upside down. These infernos not only destroy physical property but also shatter the emotional and financial stability of entire communities, leaving behind a landscape of ash and despair. Imagine standing amidst the charred remains of what was once your home, a place filled with cherished memories, hopes, and dreams. How would you begin to rebuild when everything familiar has been reduced to ash? These are the agonizing questions that haunt those affected by such disasters, often pushing them into the ranks of the homeless in America. While nature delivers its blows, human policy has often compounded the suffering. California's housing market is infamous, not just for its high costs, but for its severe and persistent limited supply. Reports indicate that the state is facing a staggering shortfall of 2 to 3 million housing units, a monumental gap that has driven rental prices to astronomical levels, pushing the dream of affordable living further and further out of reach. In major urban areas like San Francisco and Los Angeles, the average monthly rent for a one-bedroom apartment has soared from around $1,500 a decade ago to over $2,500 today. This dramatic, relentless rise in costs has pushed countless working-class families to the very brink, making homeownership an impossible fantasy and even affordable renting a cruel, unattainable luxury. The intersection of inadequate public investment and flawed financial policies has created an environment where affordable housing is not just scarce, but a luxury. With more than half of low-income households spending over 50% of their income on rent, the economic pressure is immense, a suffocating burden that leaves little room for error. This crushing financial burden forces many into precarious living situations, where even a minor economic shock, such as a job loss, an unexpected medical bill, or a natural disaster, can result in the immediate and devastating loss of shelter. The symbiotic relationship between nature and policy is chillingly clear. When environmental disasters occur in a state already hampered by a severe housing shortage, the resulting damage is both immediate and profoundly long-lasting. Each wildfire, each earthquake, each prolonged drought not only displaces residents, but also mercilessly exposes the deep vulnerabilities in the existing policy framework. These disasters highlight a glaring, painful question. In a state renowned globally for its innovation, its forward thinking spirit, and its economic might, how can systemic reform be so agonizingly slow to catch up with the fundamental needs of its most vulnerable citizens? This dual-edged challenge calls for a truly comprehensive approach, one that addresses both immediate relief and long-term systemic policy reform. Our narrative today is as much a story of environmental devastation as it is a story of policy failure, each feeding into the other to create an intractable problem that continues to push more people into the ranks of the homeless in America. A final call to action: join the movement. As we conclude this deep dive into the homelessness crisis in California, we invite you to reflect profoundly on what you have heard, seen, and felt today. Every statistic, every heart-wrenching story, and every policy failure points to a single, undeniable truth. Homelessness is a multifaceted issue that requires the collective effort of our entire community. It is a challenge that demands more than just awareness. It demands engagement, compassion, and a shared commitment to change. Your role, whether as a concerned citizen, a policymaker with the power to enact change, or simply a thoughtful viewer of our documentary content, is absolutely crucial in this endeavor. By spreading awareness through your networks, by actively supporting local initiatives that are making a tangible difference on the ground, and by engaging in thoughtful, constructive dialogue about solutions, you can contribute meaningfully to creating a more compassionate and just society.